Happy Friday. Hope you're having a good day and you're getting ready for your weekend. I said I'd be here tonight on the new Facebook page. So hopefully some of you who know me from the Facebook group will have managed to come across and find me here for tonight. The reason for me coming on here in particular, as opposed to the normal group that I'm talking in, is so that you can actually, if you find this useful, you can share it with your friends and tell more people about it, because we want to actually pass these messages on as far as we possibly can. So welcome to tonight's session. As I say, I hope you've had a good week while you've been out and about. It took me a bit of a rush to get back here. I've been networking again. Another monumental week out in Glasgow, where I think my Meet 1,000 People in Glasgow networking challenge now stands at 698 people out of 1,000. So that's not bad. But 3 weeks today, I need to have been standing in my first boot camp in Glasgow with people in the room who've met me and 1,000 people who I've seen on these different meetings. So I've had a fairly hectic week then, as you can imagine. So I guess that sort of was one of the things that I was thinking of when I set the topic for tonight's session about overcoming challenges. Because working with you here in Edinburgh and Scotland in the last 3 months, as we have been, we've got to know a few of you really quite well. We've got something like 170 odd people now in our group, and we're getting to see what matters most to you. And that started to make us think, really, because we'd had to, when we came here, think about how we could change what we were doing in order to make it the most useful thing that we'd got to offer for people here. And we recognised straight away that this was a very different environment to where I work doing coaching down south in London, and even where I've been working in the Midlands. So that sort of set us thinking, as I say, as we were listening to you and working with the coaching cohorts in particular, who we work with in quite a lot of depth, and then the people who come to the boot camps. And so we started to think about the fact that you had specific challenges that you were all concerned about. And me myself, as I say, coming here to start a new business effectively, having had businesses for 35 years to date. I'm a startup here in Scotland, and so I'm having to face the same challenges in some instances as you. And so, as I say, we thought, let's ask you some questions and let's see if we can do any useful Facebook Lives. So for those of you that are on the Facebook group, which is called Ideas into Action Collective, for anybody that wants to go and look at it, the group, we asked on Sunday or Monday, can't remember now, I think it was Sunday evening, we first asked the question, we put a survey out, and we just basically said, what are your biggest challenges? If we were going to help you with something over the next few weeks, what would you want help with? And it was Sunday afternoon, and we surprisingly started to get answers straight away from people within minutes of posting the survey out there, with several different things for you to sort of choose from. We got several different answers back from people, and that started to spread over the course of the week, and we've had a really good set of things come back from people to say what your biggest individual challenges were for your businesses. So that got us to thinking about how then we could best address those challenges and try and give you some handy hints and tips or some practical measures that you could actually use in order to help yourself through those challenges. As ever, I go back to what I know best, which is my own experience and the experiences I've had over the years. But currently, as I say, my experience here means that I've got quite a lot of things in common, as I say, with many of you who are struggling. Now, I'm well aware that on the page here, it's not a huge Facebook page that we've got, because this is a new business page for me. It's not my normal one where I've been writing for the last year. This is Karen M. Yates' Ideas into Action business page, and I think I've got about 60 or 70 people, something like that, who've hopped across from other places. We'll be promoting that out, obviously, to let more people know about it. But we specifically want to put some more business videos and some more business tools in here to help as many people as we can. So to increase our reach, as I say, we've created this new sort of business page to help us do that. And that was, again, one of our challenges, was just working out, how best to spread our messages locally, and that was with our boot camps, our trainings, and our coaching programs that we run, cohorts that we run for people, but also how do we get to a wider audience and actually get more people to know about not just what we're doing here, but the sort of things that we can provide online. So we wanted to turn your questions and your issues and your challenges into something that would be a useful little series in the end of hopefully helpful, handy hints and tips that we can tell you in these next few weeks. So the plan is to start today by doing something which is an overarching thing about what I think personally about mindset. It's not just my own ramblings, obviously, based on all the years, as I say, of being in business, but also based on the philosophy that I've sort of expounded for many years, certainly about accentuate the positive and working and building on your strengths. And so a lot of those sorts of messages that you will have heard me give before are built into sort of what we're going to put into this first session, I think, today. We're going to keep it relatively short because it's a Friday evening and you want to get off to start your weekends properly. I know a number of you can't get on live today. You've spoken to me or sent me messages to say that you'll be watching this later in the replays. If any of you are on live at the moment and you want to send me any questions, then that's great. It'd be lovely to see some live questions as we're going out. But if not, don't worry. As I say, I've got plenty to say as ever. You know me. I've always got lots of stuff that I can tell you. So if I went to basics then, what did we ask you, as I say, and why did we ask you? So we asked you a series of questions if you were in the Facebook group about what your challenges were, and we wanted to sort of flesh out that we understood really what your problems were. And so what could the problems be? What is the problem that I'm talking about? And that's really about, it's where I start in the boot camp. It's the business of running a business isn't easy. Being your own boss, setting up a company for the first time, whether you work under contracts and you're a contractor working with somebody else, or whether you're somebody who has a business selling widgets and something that you create maybe. Whatever the scenario, starting your own business isn't easy. And it's very much when you start to get underway, it's rare for somebody to know all of the things that they need to know to start a business. So there are different levels of things that you need to know. There are different skills that need to play in. You might know all about your subject, whether it be coaching or the things you make, whether you're making pots or whatever it is. You might know about that thing that you deliver inside out. But that doesn't mean you know anything about how you're now going to run that as a business. How do you price? How do you decide on how you contract? Where do you actually find your customers? Those sorts of business models, about what sort of help might you need along the way. Do you outsource certain things? When is it wise to do that? How do you keep your books? So there are lots of practical things that people have as challenges. But what we wanted to do was to talk to you over the next few weeks about some practical solutions to those problems, because it's a bit of a roller coaster when you start your own business. The same for us here in Scotland. We're on a roller coaster of really knowing what we're going to do, very excited, get the new thing out there, deliver something, and then actually we start to learn the lessons and we dip a little bit and we add them into the picture, and then we start to build up speed again and go on to the next thing, and it's really exciting again. And it's both, I think I've explained to several of you over the last few weeks, it's both the most exhilarating time of my life and also the most exhausting. So it's not easy being your own boss. You take a lot of risks to give up what maybe friends and family or your partner think of as being a normal day job. It's a big risk to actually step out of that and to do something different. You have to have a lot of self-belief to make that happen for you, to make that work. So again, thinking about those things, why would anybody do it? You're out of your comfort zone, you're stretching yourself. Again, why would you want to do that? To some people this makes no sense at all, but if it's your thing, if it's the thing that you want to do and you have that burning desire in you to start a business, that doesn't really matter. You find ways of rationalising that, you find ways of getting your head around how you're going to do this, whether that's by doing lots and lots of learning and swatting up on your subject and all of the things around it before you start, or what's known as just in case learning. The stuff where you really do go out and do a lot of courses and attend a lot of meetings and seminars, and you go networking and you do all sorts of things. Just in case around the edges of your business, this is going to be the thing that makes it all seem really clear and safe and much easier. Or whether you're doing it almost winging it, and you're learning as you go. Because just-in-time learning actually is a really good way to learn what you're doing, because you're instantly assimilating the lessons, and we're doing a bit of that here in Scotland. We assimilate the lessons straight away out of every event we run, out of every course we provide, out of every coaching session that we have, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-few. We learn the lessons from that straight away and we assimilate it, and if there's something we don't know how to do, then we spend some time over the next week after then finding out how to do it better and actually making sure that we're going to do something that people want. So I've just explained to you all the downsides of why you don't want a business, haven't I really? So why would you want to be an entrepreneur then? Well, for some of us, it's never really been a question that I've had to ask myself. It's just been here. It's been the way I've been wanting to work, and my thought process would work in a way that only suits that best since I was very young. I've explained to many of you who've met me out and about at networkings or have come to my events recently that I had my first business at the age of 19, which was making arts and crafts in the back of a van. Selling things at market stalls and doing house parties to sell things to people, wooden jigsaws and wooden toys, all sorts of things, anything I could create to start a business. And you also possibly know that came from my background with my father, who was particularly entrepreneurial in spirit, and my mum, who always had their own businesses throughout their working lives, and this ethos of backed up by the book Think and Grow Rich, which was that there was something you could do for yourself which gives you a different sort of freedom. For some people, freedom for them and security of having a monthly salary coming in is exactly what suits them, and that's great. But for some of us, that isn't going to be enough throughout the whole of our lives. It's not going to let us do the things that we really love doing. It's not going to give us the freedom of choice that we want to live life on our terms. So I would say there are a number of reasons why entrepreneurship is still well worth it, despite the fact that you may come up against a plethora of challenges along the way. But if you didn't come up against challenges in life, wouldn't it be boring? I don't actually I talk to people about the comfort zone, the stretch zone and the panic zone. And as a human being, normally in my day-to-day life, I don't really live very happily in the comfort zone, where I'm completely in control and everything's really nice and fine. I'm happier in stretch. And again, a lot of entrepreneurs find that that's the place that they feel happiest. A lot of business owners feel more comfortable when they're testing themselves and putting themselves up against some challenges. So, as I say, I would say, why wouldn't you want to be an entrepreneur, even with the difficulties? Oh, I can see somebody's pushed like, that's lovely. Somebody must be here, this is good. So, I guess the first set of things I just want to talk to you about are just some underlying principles which I believe are absolutely fundamental to how you are going to overcome the challenges that you find not just in business but in life in general. And I don't think you can get away from the fact that it is about who you are and how you see things generally that is going to have the biggest impact on how you handle the challenges that you come up against in your business or in life. So you can see, once again, here I go. Oh, I'm pointing to the wrong side. Once again, here I go. I've got my lovely whiteboard here, which gives me all the problems with lighting that we've had a million times before on my other videos, but I don't really care. I wanted to put something down on here, and you won't be able to read all these things, but as ever, what I will do at the end of the session is I will take a photograph of this and I will put it on the comments below this video so you can look at this in detail. But I wanted to talk to you about what I thought were the key principles today, and then in future weeks we'll go on to talking about the individual practical things you could do about the challenges that you've said to me that you're facing. So I wanted to talk first of all about just what sort of mindset you had. Generally, how do you think? How do you process challenges? What is your natural way of actually trying to get your head around a challenge and to start on finding a fix for it and a solution? Because there are different ways for us to do this. And potentially, you can split it into two mindsets. These are supposed to be brains. I couldn't draw heads. So just a very loose approximation of a brain here. And you have the growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And potentially they are two ends of a continuum. Because you're not going to be all of one or all of the other. But you will see traits in these as I describe them that will make you think, actually that's me, or that's more me than the other one. Or when something really difficult comes, I turn into this person. But other times I do veer into this one. And so you'll start to see when I go through what I think these are about, how you might be able to then assimilate yourself against this and work out, what does this mean to me? How do I react? Which one of these am I? Naturally, am I a growth mindset person, a stretching myself person, or am I more fixed and closed initially, and do I need more time to actually get used to a change and to think of what the solutions might be? So the things I've got written here, a person with a growth mindset then starts their way of thinking by saying, I can learn anything that I want to. I can learn absolutely anything that I want to. And my biggest example of this probably was my father, who thought that that was definitely the case. Remember the quote from him that I've used once or twice, and I think many of you have probably seen it, which was that I can overcome any obstacle in my life and make my life what I want it to be. He believed you could learn about things, you could actually surmount all sorts of problems and challenges by learning things. So I can learn anything that I want to. And when I'm frustrated, if I've got a growth mindset, what do I do when I'm frustrated? Well, actually, I persevere. I dig in. I keep finding the next thing, the next solution, and find a way through. Because actually, the third one down here says, I want to challenge myself. People who have a growth mindset want to live in that stretch zone. So a bit like me, I'm not happy, as I say, in just the comfort zone, the easy place, where everybody else is saying, well, you've moved to a lovely place now, you're just going to get a job and relax and spend time on the beach by the sea. And I want to spend time on the beach. I want to go walking. I want to enjoy the lovely new surroundings that we're in. But I also need the challenge of growing and learning and doing something. If you've got a growth mindset, when you fail, your instant reaction to that is, okay, I've learned something. And again, I've said before to you in some of my other trainings and things, you know, success comes from experience. But experience invariably doesn't come from everything going smoothly, because if it all goes smoothly, you do it once, it's perfect. What have you learned? That you knew how to do it in the first place. Actually, success comes from experience, and experience comes from failures generally. You learn as you go along. Looking further down the list, people who've got a growth mindset then really like to be told that they try hard. You're a trier. You really put your effort into it, and you really like to try hard at things. And if you succeed on something you're doing, like the people that I work with at boot camp, then I'm inspired. I want you, as a growth mindset person, I want you to succeed, and I get inspired by what you've done. I think, is there anything I can learn in this myself? Is there anything I can adapt from that? And I'm thrilled for people who learn things. The biggest thing that I love about boot camps and the one-to-many trainings that we run is when I can see across the room as we do something, one of the exercises, or when I do one of the little 20-minute teaches, I can actually see almost light bulbs coming on over everybody's head, one by one throughout the course of the day. Hopefully, the aim is that everybody in the room gets at least one light bulb moment where they suddenly realise something about how they could move forward, how they could overcome a challenge that they've got currently, and something falls into place. For me, as a growth mindset person, that thrills me, absolutely thrills me. I want to go over and see, I can see on their face that they've done something, and in the next break or the next exercise, I'll go over and have a look at see what they've been doing and see what it is that's actually chimed with them. And then down here, the final one says, my effort and my attitude determine everything. So people with a growth mindset believe that the amount of effort they put in and the attitude that they put behind something can actually make anything happen. I can overcome anything in my life and make it what I want it to be, just like my dad said. So that's the ultimate growth mindset. And then the fixed mindset is saying, well, actually, I'm either good at this or I'm not. If I'm not good at it, you know, why am I doing it? I'm not always going to be good at everything. And I believe, I guess, I'm sort of part way between these. I believe there's a certain amount of us, our heads and the way we work and think, that is programmed from birth and from our upbringing. But I do firmly believe that you can learn new things and you can change your attitude to things, and that Sometimes you may not get brilliant at something, but that doesn't mean you can't become quite good at it. And business needs you to recognise those times when you need to become very good at something yourself, and also when you need to actually recognise, I'm not going to become better than this at something, I'll outsource it. Somebody else could do that better. But people with a fixed mindset just go, I'm good at that or I'm not. And if I'm not, generally, they don't want to do it. They don't want anything to do with it. When I'm frustrated, if I have a completely fixed mindset, I give up. I'm not good at it. It's really frustrating. I'm not going to do that. That's obviously not the thing for me. People with a fixed mindset don't like to be challenged. So they don't like that constant, but what if, but what if? I always ask why 5 times when somebody suggests what they're going to do or how it's going to help somebody, and I keep asking why. The 5 whys is a great way of testing yourself to make sure you've got your head around what it is you're trying to do or trying to suggest or trying to teach. And that really, if you've got a fixed mindset, it's one of the most irritating things in the world that I can do to anybody, is keep saying, yeah, but why? Why do you believe that? Why is this right? Why do you think that's the case? When I fail, the ultimate thing that a person with a fixed mindset thinks is, I'm no good. And they take a blame on themselves and they think that they can't do anything. Not just that thing that they failed at, but they might actually go into a funk that says, I'm no good at anything. This always happens to me. But perhaps it doesn't. If you tell them they're smart, that's quite nice. They like that. I'm a fixed mindset. I know what I know and I like people to recognise that I'm good at it. Now I can do that. I like to be told I'm good and smart at things. But if you succeed, if somebody else succeeds around them, their instant reaction potentially, if you've got a fixed mindset, is not to think, wow, that's fantastic, how inspiring, how did you do it, tell me all about it. But actually, the instant reaction, if you're feeling very fixed, is to feel a bit frightened and to actually feel threatened by it. And so your reaction is completely opposite. It is one of feeling that people are racing ahead of you and that you're not doing good, you're not doing well enough, and all those sorts of things. And they believe that their abilities determine everything. Not their attitude and the amount of effort, but their ability, their innate ability, skills and things that they know how to do already determine how far they're going to go and how well they're going to do at it. As I say, you can't say that you're completely one or completely the other, although I'm pretty close to a growth mindset. I have the occasional moment where I get frustrated. Never really give up. I'll have a night where I'll sit quietly and think, oof, that's not so good. But it doesn't take long for me to go straight back into this end of the continuum here on the growth mindset and say, actually, what's the solution to this? Who can I learn from? Who does this well? There must be somebody I can learn this from, that can be my mentor, that can be my guide in this, that I can actually find out how to do this better, because other people are doing it and therefore it's doable. So I should be able to find out how to do this and make it work. So I can flick, I can see how sometimes I have traits of a fixed mindset showing, and most of the time I would say I'm mostly in the growth mindset. At the bottom of this on the picture down here, what I've written is a little continuum, and at one end I've got the growth mindset and a little line saying this is the mindset continuum, here's the fixed mindset. Where are you naturally on this is the question. Where do you think you sit? Is your natural propensity to be a person with quite a fixed mind? In which case the challenges that you find having a business or doing something like we've just done, moving countries, moving 300 miles and moving us and our family to a whole new place where we don't know anybody, where our businesses have got to start again from scratch. We've actually taken on that challenge and really enjoyed it. For us, it was something that we got our teeth into as a big challenge. Whatever the challenges you're facing, where do you naturally go? What's your natural inclination? Because then you know how to try and work with yourself to try and think slightly differently. At times of challenge, what are the questions on the growth mindset could you ask yourself to actually find the solution? What of the attributes on that growth mindset side of things could you use to help you pass this challenge? Is there something you could learn? You know, can you actually just keep going at it and you're going to get better? Just give yourself more opportunity. Knock yourself out of that funk that says, I'm just not good at this. And actually say, no, hang on, Karen. Don't be a Burke. You can do this. So learn something new, work out how to do it. So use that continuum. Have a think about that when you're facing a challenge. Think about how you could play that in and where you naturally sit. I've only got one other tool for you today, and then I'm going to wrap this one up, as I say, because I don't want to go on for hours like I normally do. For those of you that are here for the first time now, you're looking horrified, aren't you? Hours? You know me. I can talk for Britain. My other diagram here, lots of you won't be surprised that it's a Venn diagram. I use a lot of Venn diagrams. The growth mindset, I think, if you look at it in relation to what I do, what I've always done, falls into these sort of categories. 3 sets of things that have to play, that when you get them in balance and you get them right, will actually give you a really good growth mindset that will deliver against the challenges that you've got, that will deliver your goals and the things that you want, whether it's in business, as I say, or some other challenge. And it has to start with clarity, the clarity of your vision for what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because if you haven't got that clarity, you're never going to be able to plot the route. You're never going to be able to surmount the challenges, because you'll always be looking at this next little challenge in front of you, which might seem at that moment in time insurmountable. But if you've got your eye on the goal at the end of the road, the thing that you want to achieve, and you've got real clarity of purpose and vision about that goal and that thing you want to achieve, then actually these challenges then become smaller. They don't look as big. Tonight you'll be watching some races. If you tune into the television, there's athletics now for the next 10 days or so. And sometime over that 10 days, some people will jump over hurdles. And they don't jump over those hurdles by looking at the hurdle in front of them as they are running. They are not looking at those individual hurdles. Any of you who've done this as a sport? I tried it. I wasn't brilliant. I'm a little small, really. And that shouldn't make much difference, but I was a bit scaredy cat. But as they jump over those hurdles, they are not necessarily looking at those hurdles. They are working through what they've learned. They are using their skills that they have practiced and practiced and practiced for over a long, long period of time. And they have counted out how many steps they have got to do at each point in order to lift the leg up at the right time and pull that trailing leg over that bar and not knock the thing over. It's brilliant. It's a mammoth, task of timing and skill and experience and hard work that they've put in over time. But they're doing that, and where they're looking is 110 metres down the track. They're looking in their mind's eye. They have a clear vision of them passing that line and winning that medal, or getting that accolade, or beating the time that they did it in last. They're looking at the road ahead, and they're looking at their clear vision of where they want to get to, and they've done the legwork and they're putting in the hard work to jump over those hurdles, and each one of those hurdles don't look insurmountable to them at all. If we look at the road ahead in our challenge, then the individual hurdles that we're coming up against, we can tackle one at a time by using our skills and using our experience, or bringing in others to help us. So I think clarity of vision is key, and that's why at the boot camp, those of you that have been, we spend the first 5 exercises? I think it is 5 exercises talking about your clarity of vision for what you're doing and why. Know yourself. Know yourself and know your business, why you're doing that, what have you got to offer, what do you want to be known for and seen as. I've borrowed that from Helena. That is key, it is crucial. Then down here, you've got a strategy. You have to have a clear strategy then for getting to that end goal. Like those Olympians and those athletes that you'll watch over the next few days, you have to have a clear strategy marked out over time to say how you are going to achieve the milestones towards that goal. And having that strategy will help you overcome challenges along the way, because you will find things that fall in line within that strategy that help you with the challenges that come along the way. And you cannot get away from the 3rd circle here, which is just plain old hard work. I've told you about going out and doing my Meet 1,000 People Networking Challenge. And that's a lovely thing to do. It's uplifting when you go out and you spend a few hours, couple of hours with 20, 30, 40 people, maybe more in a room, talking about business, hearing about their businesses, exchanging hints and tips, having a laugh about local things, me finding out about the area that I live in and how everything works here. It's great. That is really uplifting. But That's not the hard work bit. The hard work bit is getting up at 4:30 in the morning and actually, getting dressed up to come out, driving for an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to Glasgow, which is surprisingly a long way away from where I live. I wasn't anticipating quite so far. It's hard work to do that. But interestingly, if you've got your vision right and you've got your why right, it isn't actually exactly hard work. You're working hard, but the work itself is relatively easy if you've got the building blocks in place, if you've thought it through. But you do need to hustle yourself, as Shah would say. You've got to actually get yourself out there, get yourself working, and make sure that you rise to the challenges. But if you get all of those three things aligned, so that they're perfectly aligned, and then you do the magic thing in the centre here, you take massive action of some sort. Packing your businesses into a van and taking a 2-day hike up to Scotland and then reopening your businesses in a whole new country and going, I wonder how this works here then. Let's find out. It's massive action. It's not something minor. Even the Meet 1,000 People networking, it's not a challenge that I've heard anybody else do here. It's not a challenge that I got from anybody else anywhere else. I just sat down and tried to work out what was the thing that would unlock my business here in Scotland, and that was to be able to run my boot camps and see people and meet people face to face. And in order to do that the best way possible, I needed to run my first boot camp, and I needed to get people to come to my first boot camp. And I was in a bit of a loop, because unless they came to the boot camp, they wouldn't know me and know how good the material was and the fact that I possibly could help them. But how was I going to get them to come to the boot camp? And then this challenge came up. Let's have a target of a full boot camp. I had a clear vision of the fact that I would get 30 people, if I was lucky, into a room. I hired the room before I went on my networking challenge in order to make myself do it. My strategy was, you know where you want to be, so hire the room. Now go out and meet the people and do it systematically and have a message and have some stories to tell them about who I am and why I'm here and why I think what I've got to offer may be useful. And listen. That was my strategy. It was a listening exercise. My model for what I was going to deliver as content and how I was going to structure my sales funnel going forward, whether it was 2-day workshops, 1-day workshops, what the content was going to be. All of that changed radically in the first week, but that was my strategy, was to go out on a mammoth listening exercise to meet people, to get them in to my first boot camp. It was massive action. And again, if you come to any of my things, I believe 90 days is probably enough to take a massive piece of action to take your business to a new level, to a different place, and to move you on if you find the right thing to focus on and get your priorities sorted. So those are the two models that I wanted to give you today. Those are the two things that I wanted to talk about in order to just frame where my head is when I talk about overcoming challenges. That's the way I think, and I know a lot of you do too. We've had lovely conversations at the boot camp and in the Facebook group. For those of you that want to join the Facebook group, you're very welcome. We have up till now kept it as our sort of discreet group here in Scotland in order for people to be able to actually form a good tight group together that had possibly all been to my events and seen me at various things. But if you want to join it, it's called Ideas into Action Collective. So it's just a free group here on Facebook, as I say, and there are 170 odd really active, very vibrant entrepreneurs and business people who are moving their businesses forward, taking massive action and coming out to events, mine and other people's events, going out to networkings and really hustling themselves to move their businesses forward. So it's a great place to be, a really uplifting environment. So I wanted you, as I say, in this session, just to get a view of where I was, where my mindset was, and how I'm going to frame what we're going to do over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think, up until my lead up to probably the Glasgow boot camp that we run for the first time at the end of August on the 25th. I'll do at least one Facebook Live a week now, possibly 2, and keep them a little shorter than this one, just tackling some of these subjects. So I just wanted to share with you at the end the subjects that people had given me within the Facebook group to say these were the challenges. And the number one by far that came out was the need to find and keep ideal clients, their ideal clients. So that's a common problem to most people that we've met out and about. But as I say, most of you on the survey certainly voted for that one. Then we've got, following up close behind that, how to use social media for your business. And I've found that to be potentially slightly more of an issue the further north of the country I go. So it was more of an issue in the Midlands than it was down in London where I coach. And it's more of an issue here as well, which is why my first one-day full-time sort of training ended up being social media strategy in a day, because it was obvious I'd got something there that I could impart and bust a lot of myths and help people pick what platform to use and do some very simple things that would help people quite quickly. The third one, procrastination. Well, we've all been there. As I say, reading books, mowing the lawn, displacement, all sorts of things. I've got lots of books of shelf improvement that I had to buy before I could do something. But then actually you have to put those things down and you have to just get on with the job and find yourself something to take massive action on that's going to unlock things and move you forward. Lack of confidence. A lot of individual business owners I know find this an issue. Certainly going out to networkings, even describing their business and having their elevator pitch is an issue to a lot of people, and we do some work on that in boot camps, which we'll expand on I think at some point. Not enough time. That's one I can certainly resonate with at the moment. A fear of selling. So many people with their own business have a real fear of selling. So we're going to do a little bit on that over the coming weeks. Too much to do. And then going down to the things that scored 4, 3 and 1, we've got things like the pressure of being just me. So I guess that's the solopreneur, the sole owner of a business, or somebody with a business that's got 1 or 2 people who work underneath you, but still nobody who you can talk to about developing your business. Again, we made a very conscious effort in setting up the boot camps and some of the things we wanted to do with the Facebook group, the collective, in making sure that was a space where you could find like-minded entrepreneurs, like-minded business people, so that you didn't feel so alone. Strangely, it wasn't something I ever noticed myself in my own businesses, really, until I started working down south with what I consider to be the country's top team of coaches, in Team Shah, and we all zoom in and we do our coaching, and that is such a fabulous experience for us to all work together as coaches. But the help and support that I've had from that group of coaches down there in helping me to frame what I'm doing made me realise that for the 30 odd years that I'd had before then, I had actually been quite lonely and had found it quite difficult to have anybody to talk to about my business and really to plan what I was going to do in my businesses. So lots of us feel that. No support network, very linked I think to some of that stuff about fear of being you. Somebody's put here the fear of success, and I guess we'll have to sort of talk about it in more detail when we get through to the Facebook Live about it. But there is a set of things around people's upbringings, not thinking potentially sometimes that we should earn loads of money. Is it right to earn lots of money to do what we love doing and not have a boring or hideous day job that feels hard or horrible? So there are all sorts of limiting beliefs and things that we possibly have. So I don't know whether we'll delve into that there, but possibly will. And then fear of not getting funded was one final one. And I guess that might be somebody who's trying to work out what the funding platform is, because some businesses do definitely need to get some funding to start themselves. I've been lucky in that I've always self-funded everything I've done. But I know a lot of people have then issues about how to do that. So we might sort of include some of the things you'd need to do to think about how you get funding and how you might attract funding, or various funding models. So we'll try, as I say, to create some lessons over the next 3 weeks that we can deliver in small Facebook Lives like this, that people can tune into later and hopefully pick up some of those lessons from. So I would just say, sort of on closing today, give some thought after this when you've had a chance to look it through about what your mindset is. Are you a fixed mindset naturally, or are you a growth mindset? And do you have, when you're looking at your challenges, do you have what you need in the way of a clear vision, a strategy, and then are you getting out there and doing it? Are you not procrastinating? Are you actually getting out there and following your strategy in order to lead you to your vision? Give some thought to that about the challenges that you face. Don't be defined and confined by what you already know. You can learn new stuff. We can all learn new stuff all the while. You know, you've got to, I think I said last week in a live then, you've got to enjoy the process of having your own business and all of these trials and tribulations and challenges, because if you don't enjoy the process, you're doing the wrong thing. It won't be the thing for you, because you are always going to have challenges. A very clever guy called Gary V, who some of you might follow, Gary Vaynerchuk, says that his job as an entrepreneur, as an extremely successful entrepreneur, is firefighting. And there's always going to be an element of that in your own business. So you need to actually love the process and learn to enjoy the process and the lessons that it's going to teach you along the way. That's enough of me rambling on. If you want to join the Facebook group, it's Ideas into Action Collective. You're very welcome to see us there. If you've enjoyed this today and you think actually one of your friends, colleagues, somebody that you know would actually like to watch this, then please share it. That's why we've put it here in our open Facebook group, so that you can share it with your friends and your colleagues, and anybody who you think might get some benefit from it. That would be really great if you could do that for us, and hopefully I'll advertise more about the next ones that are coming out next week. I think I'm looking at the moment at 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening for the very next one of these, and so we'll let you know in advance when that's coming on, and if you can join me live on the night, that would be great, but if not, I'll see you on the video afterwards. So have a lovely weekend, and I'm off to a Highland Games, would you believe? See, new country, new experiences. See you again. Bye.